Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I'm honored to be having with me over the episode for tonight Dr. Mohamed Naguib Abu Zaid, the professor at the American University in Cairo and the former parliamentarian. Thank you very much for being with us tonight, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Of course, we have seen the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for today, and hosting and receiving the Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. How do you see the importance of the Egyptian-Malaysian bilateral relations, especially that they have been established for more than 60 years today?
I think it's an important visit. It's an important discussion and deliberation. Let's always remember that Malaysia is one of the largest Islamic countries, and together with that, it's a country that has come over a lot of reform over the past 3-4 decades.
Yes.
And became one of the most exporting countries in Southeast Asia. There is a lot to be done and cooperated with Malaysia. I think the soon future will not only bring new agreement and new kind of cooperation, but I think revitalizing and activating some of the existing agreements that we really need to do because of the expanding and the expansion of the Egyptian trade and the economic prospects in that region in particular.
Yes, one important point that was established and addressed by President al-Sisi and the Malaysian Prime Minister is the importance of bringing and establishing peace in the Middle East. How do you see the region nowadays, more specifically the Middle East, and the efforts of Egypt and Malaysia to be bringing peace to it?
I think I would like to commend the President for that, simply because he's trying to gather all the forces and bring some kind of international backing up and solid stand to bring this matter into a final, hopefully better end than what's going on now.
Yes.
So it's some kind of support. Malaysia is not a small country, 100+ million individuals or capita, very influential, and it's a country that also has its own ties in its own region, and the Asian tigers and the Southeast Asia. So it's not only limited to Egypt and Malaysia, but it goes and extends into the Asian one, and we need the support because the stabilized Egypt and the stabilized area around Egypt is certainly to the interests of the whole world, and particularly our trade partners and economic collaborators such as Malaysia.
Doctor, you mentioned the Asian tigers and the economy of Malaysia and, of course, Egypt. The Malaysian Prime Minister commended the efforts of Egypt to be supporting Malaysia to be joining the BRICS. Yes. Grouping, as Egypt had already joined this important economic group. How do you see the importance of Egypt joining the BRICS, as we did see the meeting or the conference held in Russia, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was there? How do you see the importance of Malaysia joining as well?
What's happening now is that some of the most influential, let's say, economic powers in the world are trying to build some form of coalition, some form of trying to dilute or have another polar kind of influence and effect than what's going on, since perhaps 2 decades or more.
Yes.
What I want to say here is that the joining the BRICS is something good, something actually should be vitalized, but all the countries, including all the BRICS countries, the original ones, and including South Africa, of course, the first one from our country, from our continent, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and all these countries, they have themselves to create the kind of cooperation among themselves, the kind of trade and trade balance among
Yes.
themselves, to give strength to the BRICS or any other platform they join in. In my view, it's a very good step. The BRICS still needs a few more, let's say, persistent steps to really have the power. And it all starts with few steps, and I think this has already been taken. So I commend that, and I commend the fact that Egypt, by the way, joined not only the meeting, but became quite quickly one
Yes.
of the influential players in this BRICS gathering. So I think it's a very positive development.
Yes, being one of the main players of the BRICS, how do you see the benefits that we will be reaping from such an economic grouping?
What's in the BRICS is that not only that they have, there has been the talks about the the using their own currency or different currency. These are all, any economic specialist will tell you this is important, but that's not the most important. The most important is to create among themselves. I mean, these countries are, when you look at the population of them, they exceed 2 billion individuals, some almost close to 3 billion individuals. So 3 billion individuals, and about 20+% of the global economy. When they are together forming a platform, then you expect some kind of cooperation among themselves. You expect that this BRICS will result in several agreements that will boost this cooperation. Egyptian interest also lies, you know, of course we realize the instability in the region, but perhaps opportune moment for Egypt, or one of the big opportunities for the other countries as well as Egypt, is the development of the region of free trade around the Suez Canal. Of course, we have seen, sadly, the drop and the instability in that, but it will not last forever. Soon this will come to an end, and this cooperation will be influential in this regard.
Yes, hopefully it will be coming to an end, which leads us to the main topic of the daily debate for tonight, the return of Donald Trump. How do you see the implications of his return to the White House on the Middle East and North Africa?
Well, this is quite a big question. We can talk about it for a long time.
Yes, we have time.
But I want to say perhaps that was the most. Donald Trump himself said that's the greatest comeback in the history of the United States presidential election.
Yes.
And even if there is a little bit of exaggeration, but that's to a good extent true. A president comes back after 4 years, and he's the second 47th president will become President-elect Trump, and he's the second one after Cleveland in 1885 who will do that, 2 non-back-to-back terms. So, and the way he came back is quite, you know, the whole world perhaps was not prepared for that strong comeback in terms of votes and elections and so on. For our region, it's a big question, but the whole world is looking for some resolution and some good or better ending for the very hot, let's say, critical situations, the crisis. Of course, the whole agony and suffering and destruction that's happening in our region. And it's not, of course, mainly Gaza and Lebanon, but you can extend that to other countries as well, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and of course, one big name here to be mentioned is Iran. So this is one thing, and the other one, of course, is the war between Ukraine and Russia. One of the key things that Trump stated as a promise, first he said retroactively, if I were a president, this wouldn't have happened to begin with.
Yes.
Well, now you are back again the president.
Would you agree with that statement?
It's very difficult to talk retroactively. But I have to say that definitely if he were in power, things would have gone differently, because he has his own way of handling things in a way that you and I may not agree with, but definitely it goes into a different direction. But the more important question, if he says things like, I will now stop this war, like he promised that he within 24 hours will stop that war in Ukraine, for example, and I will conclude, I will try to find some kind of solution to the Middle East crisis right away. This will take a little bit of time, but I think he will not wait till the 20th of January when he's inaugurated to do that. One thing you may notice, and the viewers will notice, that perhaps more than any other time I have witnessed presidential election, and many times, by the way, I was in the U.S. during the elections and the inauguration of the president, including President Obama and so on. You would find that Trump already starting to act from yesterday and today as if he's already the president. And the political scene in the U.S. is like yielding for him the floor to that. It's like Trump is
he's assembling his team.
Yeah, assembling his team, and Biden is like slowing down. And of course, I hate to say that the state in which he's running the presidential thing is a big question mark. So now that gives space to Trump to move and assembling correctly, as you said, appointing the first female, Susie Wiles, as a chief of staff in the White House.
Yes.
So he's taking steps into that, and I think we may see, and I hope to see an end, and I mean a good end, for the two crises, the one in Gaza and our Lebanon, our region, and the one in Ukraine and Russia. And I want to share something about the war between Ukraine and Russia.
Yes.
The viewers may think that this is a war in another part in the world. No, it's a big war. It's impacting two countries, particularly Ukraine that has been invaded, Europe. That's in the back of that's suffering.
Yes.
And I mean, our interests, the corn, the wheat, our imports.
Economically we're affected.
Economically we were affected.
Yes.
Prices, big part of the inflation that happened in Egypt because of this war. And of course it trickles out other countries as well. So it's to our interest to end these wars as well and as quickly as possible.
Yes, one of the main statements made by President-elect Donald Trump of the United States is the war in Gaza should be ending quickly. You've mentioned, Doctor, that he has his own ways. How do you see his own ways? How do you think it will be going around?
It's a lovely question. Of course, I cannot, again, read the future. But it's very clear to everyone who have followed how Trump does things. I think, and by the way, that's what gained him popularity in the last election. This last election is phenomenal in the sense that winning 30 states, the popular vote, comfortable margin, 312 electoral votes, as well as the Republican controlling the Senate and on their way, maybe in very few days, to control the House as well. And that's not something that happens very common.
Yes.
So his own way, back to your question, Trump likes to do things in a form of, I don't want to call it a business deal, but it's a deal. Let's do this, let's do that.
He is a businessman.
Yes, and he ends things that way, but he tries, and that's what he sells very well to the American people, is that, and I'm not saying he's wrong, I'm just saying that this is the message he gives them. Okay, I will not allow us to pay so much for this. I will ask, for example, one of his recent statements, Taiwanese have to pay us to protect them against China.
From China, yes.
So he's trying to do things in a business kind of agreement that maintains the political goals, but at the same time boost the economy, or the American economy, and in a way try to achieve interest to all parties. I'm not simplifying things, I'm not belittling things.
Yes.
I know it's not going to be easy, but of course some rights have to be preserved. I mean, what about the people in Gaza Strip? What about the people in Lebanon? People who are homeless and will remain homeless for a long time and so on. So these are, what about the people in Ukraine who lost land and lost home and evacuated? So this is the challenge that meets with him, and we will have to see that in the coming weeks.
Doctor, you mentioned the big winning margin between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. What led to this margin, and more specifically because we have seen mistakes made by the Biden administration over the past 4 years, but do you think that they were the mistakes committed within, domestically, for the United States, for the American citizens, or on the foreign agenda in Ukraine, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in different parts?
I'll be very frank with you. And I lived and I studied and I taught in America.
Yes.
The American elections is never about the foreign policy. Americans vote for economy, for prices,
taxes,
for inflation, for taxes, for gas, for services, and then important issues. If you talk to me about abortion, if you talk to me about democracy, if you're talking about these hot topics.
Illegal migration, does it affect?
As well. But the first thing in the mind of an American citizen, and I'm not talking about one, I'm talking about those who represented this electoral votes, is the economy. And actually, when you look to who elected Trump, the majority of those who elect Trump were those, and those who have no college degree. Most of the people with college degree went to Harris.
Yes.
So because they look at all these factors together, and maybe they are in a better economic status that they don't suffer as much as others.
Yes.
Of course, the price in the U.S., I mean, we in Egypt here, we complain of prices and the inflation and so on, but this is not to comfort people, but go to Europe, you will see increase in prices, go to the U.S. So it's that what was really the main key thing he played. He targeted the people. Can you imagine that all the swing states that were between him and Kamala Harris,
yes,
all went to him. Not a single one went to her. So because I want to say something about Trump and about the election. I always say when people go behind the curtain to cast their vote, nobody knows what they've done.
Yes.
If you stop them in the street and ask them to whom you're going to vote, oh, I'm undecided, oh, I'll go to Kamala. But when they go, maybe I want to vote for he's a man who will, or a president who will likely to protect me, will guard my interests.
He's a nationalist, he's a patriot.
Nationalist and so on. So I think that's, and the interesting thing is he comes from someone who's one of the billionaires of the U.S., yet he managed to speak and target and address the concerns of the simple low class and middle class in a better way than Kamala
Even
Harris.
during the campaign, he drives the buses, he goes to the fast food chains, and he works there. So does this mean that he is trying to endear himself to the working class more in the U.S.?
Yes, very, very much so. And when he sensed that they were making some kind of insult or sarcasm about the Republicans, about trash, the following day he rides in a truck of collecting trash over there. To imagine a simple or even just a normal American citizen, when he sees someone else for president, is not ashamed to be in a trash collecting truck, and he's trying to do that to show that, you know, I'm one among the people here, and there is no shame in any good, honest job as such. So these are messages he managed to assemble. I want to end this by saying something. He assembled a very good team for his campaign.
Yes.
I'm not only talking about Susie Wiles, the upcoming chief of staff. The whole team he assembled was a very powerful team, and he could penetrate into the states. And imagine the amount of mobilization they've done. You are a Republican, for example, yes, you are going to go to the election and you're going to bring with you 5 or 6 or 10 of your neighbors to go vote with you. It's not only what you think, it's how able you are to mobilize these people to cast their votes.
During the first term of President-elect Donald Trump, we have seen a number of government shutdowns. Then this means that there were confrontations between him and other members of the administration or other members of the Congress, for example. Do you think that this will be replicated once again in the second term, or will be more cooperation?
I don't think it will happen. And by the way, every now and then, this threat of a shutdown takes place. And it's not the first time or the last time it will happen. One huge thing, this is perhaps not our issue today, but one huge challenge for him or for any other upcoming president of the U.S. is the huge national debt of the U.S.
Yes.
It reached
trillions.
Trillions and trillions, and the problem is that that's happening at the largest economy of the world, which means it will impact other economies of the whole globe, of the whole world. So yes, this is something he managed to do, and in his second term, I expect Trump to run things way smarter. Somebody who's been there, he knows what it's like. He's not under the stress of Congress, because he have both chambers. Looks like that.
Yes.
Both chambers are to his side as a Republican. Good number of governors of the states are Republican. That will give him comfort in making the decision. Few big things in his agenda. I just say 2 words.
Yes.
China and Russia. These are the 2 things that one would like to see how we will handle these 2
We have a lot of problems with China economically, but we will be focusing on the relationship between Donald Trump, the President-elect of the United States, with Russia, with China, and more importantly to us, the Middle East, what will happen, and the implications of Donald Trump, the President-elect of the United States, and what will happen to Gaza, to Lebanon, and more important for the Middle East in general. We'll be having more details in the upcoming reports, so stay tuned.